NFL Insider defend the power rankings list, Dianna Russini. Now, it says she's muted on her Zoom call. Before I go to her, Dianna, make sure that you're not muted on, there it is. Oh, no, had it, then muted again. She's a podcaster now, for God's sake. Uh-oh. It won't let her unmute? What is this? She's unmuted. We're back.
We're there. It's the typical experience I have when I join this show. It's always a train wreck.
No, that's crap.
No, it's true.
It's true.
It's unequivocally true.
That was her fault this time.
We did everything right.
Buck, it is so good to hear your voice. I actually genuinely miss you. It's been a few weeks since I've spoken to you. I know we text here and there. And look, I feel like for the last 3 years, I've been Team Lucas. Done.
No.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. I am back on the Buck train.
Let's go.
So it is so good to be here. And thank you so much for having me on.
Go ahead and tell her why you didn't want to talk about a Ryan Tannehill.
Is this about
interview.
Tannehill?
Go ahead.
Is this about Tannehill?
Yeah. Tell her the way you squeezed me last week.
To catch you guys up, I launched a new podcast called Scoop City. I'm about 2 weeks in. It's a big deal when you start a podcast, especially one like The Athletic that has really thrown a lot of resources to make sure this thing is successful. It's why I joined The Athletic, was for this show. So this is the time of year where I like to lean on the people that I've helped out over the years to lift me up a little bit, because I need it as I'm going to try to grow this show.
Seems fair.
So I'm thinking I'm going to have Ryan Tannehill on, the first time he has spoken publicly since he left Tennessee. And I'm just going to pick his brain on his time in Nashville, just his best memories, what it's like to be in a quarterback room when the rookie's there trying to take your job, just all the stuff. So I'm thinking Buck and Lucas are definitely going to air some of this. This is great. Those are my guys. They are my people in Nashville. And so I just check it out. Hey, Buck, what's going on? Do you need any transcripts or anything from the pod? You know, Buck knows what I'm doing. He writes back, Lucas doesn't want to air it. He says it wasn't good enough.
Oh.
So now ESPN Dianna was good enough for the show, but Scoop City Dianna is not good enough for Lucas.
Wow.
Defend yourself.
Passing the buck. My goodness.
That's right.
The hyperbole
She's
with this
on
guy.
my team now.
Dianna.
It's Mike Golick Jr., it's Dianna Russini, it's the sports attorney Dan Lust. Your team sucks.
Dianna. First of all, it's great to see you. Second of all, love the podcast. Look, it's not you, it's him. And it's not even him. It's the present. We're looking to the future in Tennessee. I don't know that Titans fans are desperate or clamoring to hear from Ryan Tannehill. The talks about Will Levis. When's Will Levis going to get one of these 4-year, $220 million deals? And what does he have to do this season to do it? A question I'd like to ask you, by the way. But it's about the future. It's not you, Dianna. It's him.
It was a Friday. Nothing was really going on.
So
you guys
true.
have discussed every angle of this Titans roster, coaching staff, general manager, ownership, to a point where it's just dull at this point. I was giving you fresh information. Look, is Ryan Tannehill the most electric speaker? No. I said it to him during the interview. I am used to a boring Ryan Tannehill. You're kind of boring. But the thing is, he's not. He loves these high-risk hobbies outside football. He got his pilot license. He's deep-sea fishing, using spears. But at the same time, yes, I know when he talks about his time in Tennessee, it maybe doesn't move the needle. But if you play it and listen and maybe put your judgment aside, you would hear what he was trying to explain, which is the situation was not easy. And he kept saying, we'll see, when it came to Will.
Yeah.
We'll see. Kind of like, I'm going to be a professional and be respectful of my former teammate, but let's see, right? Because that's how it is. And that's how I'll answer your question, Lucas. Like, the thought of even discussing a contract extension for Will Levis is insanity at this point. He has a lot to prove still here in his first year with a new coaching staff and obviously with these great weapons that they were able to acquire. So I think much like we've seen these quarterbacks get paid, most of them have put together, we'll say, a season that they saw enough to get paid. So this is Will's season to get that done.
Dianna Russini, the NFL insider, the senior NFL insider. Do you like when people say senior NFL insider? I always feel like that connotes tenure, but I also don't know how to approach it. I don't feel like I like anything around my name with senior.
Would you rather it be
senior
junior?
Sounds old. Like I remember when I was pregnant with my first son, they said that I was high risk. And I was like, high risk? They're like, yeah, you're considered basically an old person having a child. I'm like, I'm 37, but yeah, that's just how it goes. So yeah, let's drop the scene. How about just like outstanding friend of the show that we can rely on for all things Titans?
No, but they find me when I call you a friend of the show. There's a fine system for when I try to flex my Rolodex too hard around here, so I can't even do that. The NFL insider / friend of the show, Dianna Russini, here. Of course, you can read her great work at The Athletic. You can hear the podcast Scoop City that she hosts with former NFL quarterback Chase Daniel on a regular basis. Not just the Tannehill discussion, which was worth your time. And in fact, the chat where we live stream the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, they are vehemently disagreeing with Lucas. AJ saying, Dianna, I'll go listen to it. People telling Lucas, I do want to hear from Tanny. Eat it, Lucas. You are taking L after L after L.
It's true. I have no ground to stand on.
We had so many questions during that offseason of just kind of what happened? What was it like? What? There's still things we don't know. So anytime we can tap into trying to get just a little bit more, even if it's just one detail, I think fans want to hear that. And look, I like this attitude that you do have, Lucas, of like, let's look forward. There's so much to be excited about. We don't want to look back because it's a little messy. I get it. But I thought for the first time, Ryan Tannehill opening up a bit about the experience on Scoop City would be just a great way for you to support me. But that didn't happen. But look, here I am again, coming on the show when I got a million things in the air right now.
God, just unbelievably selfless. And also why she's on my team. Dianna Russini here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
I'm an idiot, and I was wrong.
I agree,
Thank
Lucas. You are an idiot, and you were wrong in that moment.
I, unlike you, can face retribution. I can stare down a situation where I'm wrong. Unlike you, Buck.
Well, you do it unwillingly, just like with Will Levis, Dianna. He was wrong about Will Levis, too. He's a Tennessee Vol. They didn't want the Kentucky quarterback. They tried to run him out of town. Lucas's worst-case draft scenario on Friday, before they drafted him, was drafting Will Levis. And now he has to submit formal public apologies to him as well. So you're just first on a list of people.
What would Ryan Tannehill say?
I think it was a lot of people's worst nightmares that night. Knowing what they could have... the quarterback they could have, been able to get if he fell to them. But I think you should be pretty thrilled considering everything I know I've been hearing coming out of the building and just talking to people around the league about what Will is able to bring, the confidence, the swagger, all those great descriptions you hear from quarterbacks that are trying to make it a season where they can prove that they belong. And Will is on his way.
Well, to that end, Dianna, and I know you're covering a lot of different teams league-wide, and I know you just put out, as the information has become available, that Danico Autry is going to be suspended 6 games, according to the league's performance-enhancing drug policy. Now, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, a Houston Texan. That's a big blow to the depth that they've spent so much capital this offseason signing. What are the biggest rumblings coming out of this division? Colts, Titans, Jags, Texans, because it is one of the more compelling ones, and that's a rare enough thing for the AFC South.
Well, I'll put it this way. I begin my training camp tour. The first stop, Houston Texans. I haven't been to a Houston Texans camp in 10 years, right? Usually I'm with you guys. I'm down there. You guys are one of my stops. And this isn't me saying that I don't want to be around them or I don't believe in them. There's just something being built there right now. And I think you guys would agree in terms of the roster and what CJ Stroud is able to bring, that I want to see it. I want to be around it. I want to see where he's developed and grown from last year. He's proved he's a stud, but I want to see now that Stephon Diggs is part of this team and really the buildup of this defense that we saw during the free agency period. So I think the Houston Texans are certainly the ones dominating the conversation in terms of what the expectations are, which is a great position for Tennessee that is on its way of building something just as great. It's just we've seen it. We saw it last year. We saw enough for us to believe in it a little bit more, which is why I think the sneaky pick has been Tennessee. I've been watching and reading a lot about from analysts talking about Tennessee. And it's one of those teams, and Chase Daniels talked about it on our Scoop City show about the Tennessee team right now. It's one of those, you look at the roster and you pick it up and you go, Rand Carthon, well done. But they got to go out there and execute. I talked to Saquon Barkley the other day about it as well, of just having a team with so much skill. And he put it perfectly. He's like, you can't sit there and just be like, oh, I got this guy, I got this guy, I got this type of protection. Because you just don't know. You never know how it's all going to come together, which is what training camps is great, and why I love following you guys that are down on the ground, because we're getting these little blips of seeing, moments where, I know Will's made some mistakes, but he's had some great moments as well. So it's all coming together. And in terms of this division specifically, it's just Houston just has shown it already. That's why they get the nod.
Scoop City is the podcast that you can check out wherever you get your podcasts. Her most recent episode, their most recent episode with Ryan Tannehill, as she mentioned, an exclusive sit-down with Saquon Barkley, which is hugely compelling given that we're getting as much info and access, Dianna, from Hard Knocks on a front office side of things. We've all worked around the NFL for a considerable amount of time at this point, but the ins and outs, the visits with the draft prospects and things like that, the stuff that HBO is giving us that we haven't previously been able to see, it had to be hugely informative to watch that play out and then to be able to bounce that off Saquon in real time.
Yeah, to be reporting on it in real time, right? So my job is to find out that information, and then you see it unfolding and like, oh, yep, this is obviously all in line with what we were stating about the situation. And maybe even in some cases and situations, you were off a little bit just on how much the owner wanted to keep Saquon, right? Because we knew that Saquon is the most popular person in the New York area. He's the face of the New York Giants. Ownership doesn't want to move on from him. He was one of their biggest draft picks. And then just to see it just felt even stronger than how it was being explained to me at the time. But one of the most interesting parts about sitting with Saquon was hearing the credit he was giving Hard Knocks as well, to have the access to hearing people talk about you. But the thing that he kept trying to point out was, one, he's moved past it, right? Because it's been months since that happened and went down, and he's now a full-blown Philadelphia Eagle, and everything that comes with it. But he said the phone call that we all saw, where you saw Joe Schoen, the general manager of the New York Giants, basically tell Saquon, go test the market. Saquon said that's when he knew it was over. He didn't need to hear anything else, right? Because if you really love something, you're not going to go let it test it out and see if it can find another lover, right? It's like, I like you, I'm locking you up, it's done. He challenged him to go see what he could get, and he obviously got a ton more than what the New York Giants were waiting to offer. But he said the drama of it all was so much bigger on the show. He's like, it was one call. It was over. He's like, so he said that part of it was it led people on in a different direction or in a different way than the reality of how it went down. But watching someone believe and work towards a goal of staying with one franchise forever, and then being told that we're good, see ya. Seeing him express that and looking in his eyes and watching him express it, you felt for him. You did. Like, I don't care how much money you think these guys make and the egos that come with it, to see someone just have to deal with the fact that they were not wanted and then use that to advance and start a new chapter. To me, it was really, it was actually a really good learning experience for me too, just watching him and how he handled it.
So since Lucas is a traitor and does not help our friend Dianna Russini out, Jackson, why don't we go ahead and in the YouTube comments and the live stream chat, let's drop the link to the Scoop City podcast so that the audience can go ahead and subscribe and hear all of these great conversations while this traitor goes ahead and asks her a question. Maybe she'll be kind enough to answer it. We'll see.
I'm just thinking back to my ESPN days, and Lucas, it's hard for you to understand because you've never worked in like that in the Bristol environment. But when you are
she just
on air,
rookied you.
These guys
She
on
just
TV,
rookied you.
And you would see these ladies. They are doing 50 things that day. They're not just doing get up. They're doing get up. Then they're doing first take, and then you've got 3 radio hits. So I would squeeze you guys in between live shots. Like, when I tell you, the director would be in my ear and be like, Russini, we're coming to you in 4 minutes. And I'm like, all right, I can quickly knock Nashville out here because I love you guys. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. Buck, do you remember there was a time where I think I was on the air with you? I'm like, I am sorry I have to cut this off, but I have to do my job.
That's right.
Like, I have to get on SportsCenter right now.
There was news. That's correct. I was there. I witnessed it. It's just, how quickly people
It was DeAndre Hopkins. Forget. It was. I think it was D-Hop signing. And I remember just juggling so much. So it's going to take me a little bit to get over it, Lucas, but I'm a firm believer. Like, I can forgive. That's probably a weakness of mine. I can forgive easily. I do not forget.
an idiot and I was wrong. Thank you, Jackson.
I'm
taking blow after blow here. I accept it with humility, Dianna. Now, the good news is the F&M Bank chat is completely galvanizing each other against me, and they're going to go listen to this podcast, even if out of spite, whether it's to hear Ryan Tannehill talk or to spite me, which I fully encourage all the spite if it means everybody goes to listen to Scoop City with Dianna Russini. So good, so much that Saquon Barkley was answering questions at Eagles practice with the media saying, like I said on the podcast, and then laying out things that he said with Dianna Russini.
Referencing, go back and listen to the podcast. You got Saquon. You don't need Lucas. You got Saquon.
That's true.
Yeah, that was pretty cool of him to do. He didn't, he was obviously getting a lot of opportunities and people to come on, and it's a relationship business, as you guys know. And Saquon even shared with me, he's like, I did this with you because you held something back once that you knew about, and I'll never forget it. So that was really cool that he did that for us, knowing that we were a new podcast and we're up and running. I just wrapped up with Kirk Cousins. He's going to be on the show tomorrow morning. We get all into that quarterback room. Speaking of awkward, right? You got Michael Penix Jr. in there. They use their top pick when you just paid Kirk Cousins all this money. What is that like? So he opens up. It's Kirk is not the Kirk Cousins that you guys knew in Minnesota 4 years ago. He is a new dude, and he's definitely very comfortable with himself.
It's excellent access, as always. That's what you come to expect from Dianna. At DM Russini is where you can follow her on Twitter. Again, Scoop City, the podcast. For those of you live streaming, the Spotify link is available for you to click on and download for yourself. It's always good to see you. Thank you for making some time. We'll ignore the rudeness of Lucas, and we'll see if we can't bring you back at some point in the future.
Well, it was great. Thank you for promoting the show, and look, it's Team Buck until we figure out something else, Lucas. But either way, I appreciate the apology, and of course, I love talking to you guys. I can't help myself.
Bye, Dianna. That's Dianna Russini with us on 104.5 The Zone. Last call for phone calls. We'll wrap up the show coming up next.